Excellent. I think we're live. Are we?
Yes, we are live, Adrian. We've got a lot of participants for this session. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And welcome to the UCLA Anderson's session at MBA Spotlight. I'm Nikhil. I'll be the host for this session. And it's a pleasure for me to introduce you to Adrian and Sabrina, who are on the MBA admissions team at UCLA Anderson. So the way we are going to run this session, we will have a brief introduction to the full-time MBA program, wherein all the critical information that's needed for you to be successful in your applications will be provided. And we'll be opening the floor for questions after that, where I'll try, and me and Sabrina will try to answer as many questions as possible and get Adrian to answer all of those. And we have two ways of interacting in this session. One, you can use the chat box. Two, we also have a Q&A tab. So during the session, you can post your questions on the chat box and Sabrina will take those questions for you. And towards the end of the questions, you can also post your questions on Q&A tab, which could be upvoted. And any of those questions that you find on the Q&A tab, which you need answered, please upvote them. And towards the end of the session, we'll look at the most upvoted questions and we can draw those questions onto the screen for Adrian to answer. Does that sound good for everyone? Great. The floor is all yours, Adrian and Sabrina.
Excellent. Oh my God, so many thumbs up. I feel very warm and fuzzy all of a sudden. Thank you so much for having us here today. And we're delighted to share information about our program. So just a kind of a tiny brief introduction about who I am and my colleague, and then we'll just get started. My name is Adrian Aguirre. I'm one of the Associate Admissions Directors at the UCLA Anderson Full-Time MBA program. I've been with the school for a big chunk of my life, given that I'm what we call a double Bruin. I went to UCLA as an undergrad and also as an MBA student, and I worked outside and inside the university for some time. So hopefully I can share with you guys a little bit of what we do, why we do it, and why we think this place is so great. I'm joined by my fearless colleague, Sabrina, who's going to introduce herself, and then we'll get started with this conversation.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Sabrina Chen. Like Adrian, I'm on the MBA admissions team, the full-time MBA. I've been with the team for about two to 3 years. Not as senior as Adrian, but I have enjoyed working with our students, faculty, and prospective students. Before joining the team, I was in the entertainment industry. So looking forward to answering all your questions today.
Excellent. And what Sabrina very modestly didn't say is that what she lacks in quantity, she more than exceeds in quality. So you guys are going to be getting a lot of help from her. So my plan for today is number one, I'm going to ask all of you guys to put your country on the chat. We want to have a rough sense of where you're coming from today, this morning for us. Oh my goodness, I see people from a whole bunch of places. That's fantastic. For those of you that are picking up a little bit of an accent on my end, I'm originally from South America. I'm from Lima, Peru, but I've lived in the United States for a big chunk of my life. So I don't want to make this a very long introduction. We typically have this more comprehensive deck where we cover a lot of ground. I have left some slides for continuity so we can kind of see a little bit of the structure, but you will notice that I will skip or be rather succinct in some of them and go into more detail in others, because I want to give you guys a little bit of what we think is more relevant for those of you thinking about applying next year, and maybe clue you into some things that may be new or different. And during this time, you're welcome to use the Q&A to submit your questions. My colleague Sabrina will be doing her best to get to as many of them as she can. I will definitely ask you not to ask questions that a simple Google search could do for you, so you can use her expertise a little bit better. And then once we're done with this deck part of the conversation, I will join the Q&A and I will try to answer live some of the remaining questions that we have. So Sabrina, if you can show me the next slide. And so you're all here because you're curious about UCLA Anderson, and I'm just kind of a quick recap of some of the things that are great about our institution. Top-ranked faculty on a worldwide level in terms of industry practitioners and researchers. A very strong and collaborative community, which is something that you're going to see come up time and time again as part of our theme. And the opportunity of leveraging the resources in Los Angeles and California in general as part of your MBA experience is something that we think is a big plus of being here, as well as having this breadth of resources with more than 200 areas of academic research and study at the university level that we're a part of. So you have this very strong and robust academic pedigree behind us, as well as a very strong career services team that is there to help many of you guys transition into your next professional career path, whether it's here or abroad. So next slide. And some of these are going to be rather quick changes. So, Sabrina, can you get to the next one? There we go. So I was mentioning that culture and collaboration are a big part of who we are. And you will definitely see woven through our website and the questions that we ask in the application, things to give us a sense of kind of how do you relate to those cultural values and ideas, whether these are important things for you. We're definitely looking to attract people for whom these principles are important. You don't necessarily have to adopt them all, but we're looking for people for whom this is something that means something. So there is a lot of talk at the school right now about this concept of transformative leadership development, and that's something that is one of those new themes that you're going to see in this year's application. So we say at UCLA Anderson, we create transformative leaders who think fearlessly, drive change, and share success. And this, we've been kind of in this sort of mindset for a number of years, which is sort of understanding what is the essence of our student and alumni culture and body. And there's this notion of really pushing the envelope, driving change, coming up with innovative solutions, not taking the status quo and really thinking innovatively, but in a context that promotes the betterment of a community, whether that's the university, your larger community, your world in general. So we want folks that are committed to making the place a better place and supporting one another. Next, please. And in that context, oops, there was a one slide before that, I believe. Hopefully it was there. Oh, there we go. And we also say, and pay attention to this one. This one is going to come back to us and be important for those of you thinking about applying. At UCLA Anderson, we create transformative leaders by. And what we mean here is that we believe that transformative leadership is something that can be learned. The MBA experience is designed in our program to help people navigate this sort of wheel of competencies and skills. So we think of this process as one where leaders need to be able to solve complex problems, and they do so by acquiring a set of hard skills, right? So we expect leaders to be able to be to have a strong industry acumen, to be technologically savvy, to be analytical in their mindset. And those are sort of the hard skills that the MBA program will deliver or can deliver for you. But at the same time, we also want those leaders to be able to catalyze action in organization and teams by having soft skills that support that, right? So we want our leaders to be innovative, to be collaborative and inclusive, and to be driven and purposeful. So it sounds like this complicated equation, but what we have is a program that is being designed so from the ground up, from the moment you start the MBA and you're taking your summer leadership foundation courses and you're moving into your core classes in the first year, some of them are going to be leadership related. Having access to a personal coach and navigating that 2-year journey with an opportunity to really check in those boxes and identify your own strengths and weaknesses and what you need to develop. For us, this is very important, and it's going to be a cornerstone of our MBA experience and something that we're hoping resonates with many of you guys as you're applying. And so think about this as we turn the corner around the end of the presentation. This will come back to us and you guys will understand why I spent so much time talking about this. Next slide, please. So we're going to jump into our academics. Next, please. Poor Sabrina's having to type and listen to me at the same time, which is probably crazy. But so this MBA experience that we're talking about in our particular world is a 2-year MBA experience that begins with a summer orientation onboarding. And I bring that up because in this world that we're talking about of developing leaders, that is where we get started with students taking a course called Leadership Foundations, and people get exposed to our career services support team, and they're taking specific classes really geared to help them understand what their options are, what are their sort of career, what is their career journey going to look like through the MBA to achieve their goal. And for many folks, this really means a career transition, a pivot from one industry to another. So it requires the acquisition of a lot of skills and networking and competencies. And we start early and we continue throughout this MBA experience with a key emphasis on giving people a lot of flexibility. So there's a lot of elective work that you do towards the second year of the MBA the MBA experience, and a practical application that is going to come in the form of a capstone project or a thesis that you do in your second year, as well as an opportunity to practice what you're learning, whether it's in internships or different case competitions and projects and conferences that you will be doing throughout this MBA experience. Next. So I hinted about flexibility. You can see it a little bit more fleshed out here. We have 115 electives, more or less, available at any given time. People are able to pursue potentially one or two different areas of specialization, and you have 15 to choose from. They're listed there and also on our website, so I won't spend too much time going through those in detail. And we have 9 academic centers that are really organized to bring together students, academics, as well as the business community, and develop programming and resources and conferences and activities, and support a lot of our student organizations. So this is sort of the fabric that is behind this academic and leadership development experience. And I also should mention that our program is STEM certified, which for those of you coming from different countries, it's really a valuable tool as it allows you to extend your time in the US a little bit more. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Global Opportunities is part of the MBA experience. Our students are able to take global immersion courses where they travel around the world. There's a number of trips that are happening at any given point during the MBA experience. So the fact that you are in the West Coast in the United States during the MBA experience doesn't mean that that's the extent of your exposure. You really can go as diverse and as wide as you're looking to go during your MBA with us. Next, please. And in terms of that practical hands-on approach, we do have this sort of thesis equivalent capstone project happening in the second year. For a lot of people, this becomes a very interesting consulting engagement with top leadership at many of the companies that come to look for students to work with them and to help them with serious, complex strategic problems and challenges. For others in our program, it could be what we call the business creation program, where you are launching a business with your cohort, with your team. And this is an exercise not in just writing a plan, but in really executing that new business idea. And there's a number of other options available for folks that might have different interests, whether it's investment management or real estate or different things. Next. And one more. There we go. So in terms of our community, I wanted to give you a snapshot of typically what we see in our program. You've probably seen this referred to as class profile, referred to in many other presentations. Typically, our class size is about 300. The average age of our students, it's about 28, but I would urge you to think more in terms of a range or a distribution where most people happen to be in their 20, 23 years of age, going up to 39, 40 years of age. And that is sort of the sweet spot for folks to have had a little bit of work experience or sometimes a lot more work experience, and they're ready to make this transition and to pivot into another area. So most people do have some work experience, the average being 5 but this is a range that will go probably anywhere between 1 and 10. In terms of diversity, 40% of the class is female. About 30% is underrepresented minorities. 48%, or about 41 countries, are international students. And in terms of the academics, and I know this is an area that causes a great deal of anxiety, the average GPA in a 4.0 scale, it's about 3.4. But again, look at that range, 3.1 to 3.8 is more in line with what we see. And on the GMAT front, that range for us is in the mid 600s to the mid 700s. Of course, the average is 710. It gets skewed by the folks that have this very great high scores. But again, think of that range as a viable range. And we also submitted GRE numbers there so you have an idea of what to look for. Next slide, please. Right. In terms of student involvement and leadership, these are many of the student organizations that are here on campus. The pictures that you see there are real pictures. That's real pictures. That's our backyard, and that's what you will get to call your playground as you're a student here in the program. Next slide. And I'm going to talk a little bit briefly about the career resources. So next slide, please. There we go. So I think the two key takeaways for our Parker Career Management Center folks, and that's the center that really works with our students to help them execute on those career pivots, is the fact that, number one, it's a top-ranked institution within the MBA worldwide community, oftentimes ranked at the top of that list. And part of the reason for that is that there's a very strong and robust methodology designed to help you make that transition that goes on from a very personalized approach of one-on-one coaching and mentoring, panels and workshops, and bringing in companies with whom we have very strong relationships, helping people prepare for those interviews, coaching them, and really helping folks make that full transition. So lots of support, lots of expertise in the area, and the fact that you're going to have individualized attention as you pursue your journey into whichever industry you might be pursuing. Next slide, please. And Sabrina, I know you're getting a lot of questions, so don't worry too much about them if you don't have a chance to answer many of them, because we can try to do that live very soon. Here's a list of the many companies that come to campus in terms of bigger brand names that you can recognize. We do get a whole bunch of also medium-sized companies or international companies that you don't hear because sometimes they're harder to recognize. But we wanted to point out that we do have very strong relationships with some of those big industry players across the main industries in consulting and banking and finance and marketing and technology and those things. Next, please. One more. One more. Oh, there we go. So we are now in the part that you probably want to maybe make some notes. I'm going to talk to you briefly about some of the application requirements and the process. In terms of what we're asking folks to submit, you will be asked to send us a resume, 1 or 2 pages, no more than that, preferably 1 if you can. There will be a request for 2 letters of recommendation, and typically we will suggest that you use a supervisor, current or past, somebody that can really speak of you in a professional manner in terms of how they know you and how they work with you. Text flexibility, and this I put as asterisk to remind me to highlight this for you guys. This is something that is also new for us. Last year was the first year that, in addition to the GMAT and the GRE, we also started accepting the EA. So this is something that will be in place this year as well. You can choose which one of those tests you would like to take. You're not going to see stats on the EA because it's something brand new that we've only been doing for a year. So you can see a little bit of a track record on GMAT and GRE. EA is a little bit newer. Of course, try to do your best when you're submitting that. And I also added none as an option there. And I do want to kind of explain what we mean with this idea of text flexibility. There are some folks that might have very analytical or heavily quantitative work requirements and have pretty strong skills in those areas, but for whatever reason, they might not be the strongest test takers. And what we do want to signal is that we are okay with the fact that some folks might not be the strongest test takers, but we do want those core skills to be there as they're part of the MBA experience and a requirement for those that want to be successful in it. So for those individuals who might have that very strong quantitative background or expertise, whether it's through what they do at work or through the college courses that they may have taken, you have the option to not submit the test. But I want to be clear that this is not an opportunity for those folks that are inherently having difficulty with the subject matter to sort of get a free pass and to submit an application that will be less competitive and have it count as strongly as somebody else who has those skills and scores. So this is again for those that have those skills that wish to make the case for themselves. You're able to do so. Now, on a personal side, what I would tell you is that all of the components of the application are used for us in the process of selecting individuals for fellowships, the money that we give out as scholarships. So if you wanted to maximize your chances for scholarship, I would personally suggest that taking a GMAT or a GRE or even an EA, it's a stronger path towards signaling your strength and potentially getting that fellowship. You'll also be asked to submit a copy of your transcripts, and those folks that are kind of headed down the path of admission are asked to come and interview with us. So we have an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better, fill in the gaps, get more information, and also give you an opportunity to meet us and ask us questions. Next slide, Sabrina. So this slide I wrote not official and subject to change because I couldn't think of any other legal disclaimers to put there for you, so you wouldn't quote me on this, because I'm showing you something that is not official. This is a very early preview that our GMAT Club friends are getting. So I'm not to be quoted on this because it's not official. It's not on the website yet. We are meeting very shortly to finalize this. But these are the short essay prompts that you're given as part of the application. So we definitely want to ask you to tell us why you're pursuing an MBA and put it in the context of your short-term and long-term goals. I'm pretty comfortable that this will definitely be there in the form that it is. And I wouldn't even call it an essay. It's a short form answer. But the next one is one that is in the process of getting a little bit of fine tuning. So we say at Anderson, our mission is to prepare transformative leaders by developing students to think innovatively, adapt and problem solve, all with a driven and purposeful mindset. So that's the context. And the question is, how do you plan to achieve your goals and develop into a transformative leader during your time at UCLA Anderson? So if you recall back that earlier wheel that I showed you with the soft skills and the hard skills, the idea is that you're going to have 2 years with us to fill in those gaps and to acquire the skills that you think are going to be relevant for you personally, given where you are, where you want to be. So we're trying to get a little bit of a preview into what your thoughts are about what is it that you need to fill in the blanks, what areas do you need to strengthen, what areas do you think you're already strong at and can share and bring that to our community. So the essay that you'll see or the essay prompt that you'll see will have a flavor very similar to this, and it will probably be something that you'll see online in the next few days, if not next week. Next slide, please. And we're going to speed run through the last couple of pages here. This is something that you should remember. It's on our website. But for those of you thinking about applying and being successful, we do have 3 rounds, and the deadlines are listed there: October 1, January 6, and April 7. My personal recommendation for you folks, if you're looking to maximize your odds, I would say try to shoot for the first couple of rounds when things are relatively a little bit more flexible. It's a kind of an open field. We have a little bit of flexibility and room. Round 3 is still a viable round to apply, but you're kind of coming in when the process has already been running for 2/3 of the time. there are less spots available, as well as a little bit less financial aid available, right? So if you're sort of an analytical person, you will see that coming in a little earlier might be a little bit of helpful. Let's go to the next slide. And final part of the conversation is about how to pay for this MBA. So last year we awarded about $18 million. About 60% of the class received fellowships, which are monies that the university will give you without even applying for, based on where you stack up in your sort of application compared to your peers. 60% of those folks received some money. Ranging from a partial fellowship to a full fellowship, and 80% of the class receive some form of financial aid, because a lot of our students are also applying for loans. So if you count that in, about 80% of the students are receiving some sort of financial support. And I think that's it. So let's jump to maybe what's hopefully our last slide. Oh, one more. That's it. We made it to the questions with about 20 minutes to spare, which I hope we can use answering your questions. So,
thank you so much, Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
Sabrina, if you have any specific questions that you want to bring up, we can go ahead, or I can actually bring up the questions that have been upvoted the most onto the screen, and then Adrian can take those up. Both of you. What do you say?
I think I skipped a couple of questions. I'm still going through the questions and typing my answers, but there are some, you might be able to see some that I skipped because I thought it may be easier to answer live.
Sure, and those are the questions that are left in the. Well, let me jump to the Q&A mode. I was looking at the chat where some of you guys have entered your questions in the chat, and I do appreciate that. But if you want those questions to get answered, do a quick copy and paste job and put it in the Q&A so we can kind of see them. And I believe, okay, so let me take a couple at random. And Sabrina, if you think that speaking the answer is easier than typing, and you just want to chime in, you can just let me know by raising your hand and just taking a question. So I'll take the first one. Okay, can you tell us about the campus life at UCLA, how we can gain work experience and networking with the industry during our study? Second part, which round is better to apply? Okay, so campus experience and campus life. I would say my advice to all of you guys is to try to sign up for one of the either information sessions that we do on campus, or one of the Q&As or virtual information sessions that are available as well. So whether you are in person or virtually, you have an opportunity to oftentimes catch one of our students as the presenters, and they're really going to be able to give you a lot more detail. Thanks for putting that there. So that's an opportunity to get that sort of firsthand experience. But what I can tell you is that students are extremely active. Many of the students are leaders in 2 or 3 clubs, very active socially and engaging with their cohort trips. And great fun, which is to be a student in California, but also great in terms of opportunities for networking with local alumni and people really at top companies. So I think you get the best of both worlds. In terms of which round is better, rounds 1 or 2, it's all relative. I think when you're looking at rounds 1 and 2, I think the round that is better is the one that allowed you to prepare and submit your strongest application, right? If you want to go with an application that is a B grade application in round 1 and you have your A game ready for round 2, go for round 2. Present the strongest application that you can. All right. Question over here. So let me take this one. Can you tell us about the camp? Oh, well, I'll add the part about the how can we gain work experience and network within the industry. So lots of opportunities. Our students engage in a formal internship between the first year and the second year. In addition to that, there are ongoing internships that students can sign up for during the year. So you have an opportunity to really apply what you're learning almost immediately. And a lot of the clubs that we have, I would say about more than half of them are organized around different industries with the sole purpose of helping you network and connect and have exposure to people in those industries and also the trends and what you need to know. So all of that is very complementary to help you get there. So Sabrina, is there one that you want to tackle? And if not, I could take one more while you're looking. So let me see. If a student on the lower end of the undergrad GPA range comes from a non-traditional pre-MBA background, should he take these additional courses to offset a low GPA? So I think this is more my personal preference. I think that if you have a low GPA, probably the strongest way that you can kind of undo that a little bit and start fresh would be to really study hard for a GMAT or a GRE and submit a score that really means business. So you can say, okay, never mind that score that is a little bit lower. I've matured. If you look at my numbers now, and I can definitely convey that I have those skills. You can definitely take those additional classes and certifications. Oftentimes, I will see people take classes in community colleges, for example, here, and take a class in stats or something like that. And that's sort of sort of demanding subject that shows your skills. You could also choose to highlight your academic or your analytical skills in the context of the work that you do. So you can kind of add all those elements to support your renewed sort of success and interest in academics. And then, is there a structure in the curriculum? The structure is definitely there. The first year is core, so you're taking all the basic foundational MBA classes. Second year, it's a lot of elective work that allows you to pursue your personal interest. So I'm going to keep reading. And Sabrina, if you have something, you can just raise your hand, and I know that you want to chime in a question. What would you consider a must-have qualities in the applications to be a good culture fit for UCLA? I would say, we don't want a bunch of clones, and I don't necessarily need you to become something that you're not, but I definitely think that having a strong sense of who you are and what you want to do with this MBA goes a long way, right? A person with clarity and vision for who they are, the kind of career and job that you're looking to get post MBA, that will help. And with that should come an understanding a little bit about what are the things that are needed for you to get there. And if you go back to think about those pillars of sharing success, driving change, and thinking fearlessly, see if any of that resonates with you, because that's the kind of community that you're going to be a part of. And having some interest in those aspects of our community will show us that you'll be happy and successful in our environment. What is the criteria for awarding merit-based fellowships? So we do not do need fellowships. You listed need. Our fellowships are only merit-based. And the criteria is basically all the components of the application are kind of blended in together into something that to us is akin to an internal ranking score. And then we can compare you to the other 300 folks that are going to be in the class. So we definitely want to reward the people that we think are on the stronger end of that population, and as you saw, about 60% of the class did get some help. So that's a combination of your work experience, your academics, your cultural fit, and all those things. Okay.
I think some of the questions I've already typed answer.
Oh, yes. I will skip those. Yes. Thank you for letting me know.
Is there a way to mark the question answered if
yes. They
answer already?
They do show answered. I was maybe not paying attention to that part.
Oh no. I'm seeing a lot of questions, so I feel like I'm gonna start just answering live. But I wonder if there's a way to mark them and that's being answered live.
Oh! I see what you're saying. So that the live questions get tagged as being answered, and this might actually be. Yeah, I'm not sure if I can do that on my own.
I'm gonna answer a question. Is it acceptable to give a letter of recommendation from a last manager if I changed teams and got promoted to a new role this year? It's acceptable because if you feel like your current supervisor doesn't know you for very long, it's a very short period of time, you can have a letter from your prior supervisor or your other supervisor or your colleague, but it's we definitely recommend to have at least one recommendation letter from a supervisor, current or previous.
Good. So let me jump to the next one. The very popular waivers question. I should have said that from the start. Unfortunately, we do not offer fee waivers. So the answer to that, I'm afraid, is no fee waivers. Let me go to the next. UCLA Anderson is known for its collaborative community and innovative curriculum. Can you share examples of how these aspects have contributed to student success and career advancement after graduation? This is kind of a complicated answer, and I would tell you that probably the best way of sorting this out is by interacting directly with our community. They are extremely comfortable and proactive, reaching out to prospects and chatting and sharing resources and helping people. I mean, I could think of a handful of examples, but I think as you have your own interactions, this idea or cultural characteristics will jump out. One example that always sort of that I find interesting is that we constantly hear stories of students going into job interviews together or prepping together for interviews. And oftentimes those interviews are quite challenging and demanding, right? If you're going into consulting, you might be doing hundreds of case studies to prep for a job interview. And you are doing the prepping with people that want the same job you want. Yet in the process of doing that, our teams, our students are super invested to helping each other succeed, to the point where sometimes people will come out of an interview room and then pass a note to the guy in the hallway or in the lobby saying, make sure you answer this, they're going to ask you about this or that. So that idea that as much as we are eager to succeed on a personal level, we kind of retain the humanity of this process and understand that we can all have a bigger pie if we collaborate and support one another as opposed to cutting each other in this process. So that is part of who we are, and like that, there are countless other anecdotes and stories. Let me jump to the next one. Hi, Adrian and Sabrina. Thanks for conducting this session. Could you please elaborate on what are the scholarships and assistantship opportunities at UCLA? So the merit fellowships tend to range between $30,000 as all the way up to the full tuition, right? So you, depending on kind of where you rank in terms of how your academics, work experience, and culture, where that ranks you in the population of admitted students, you would be getting an amount in that range that will reduce your cost of the MBA. The other opportunities are students are oftentimes able to work as teaching assistants. Now, that requires some knowledge in the area of the course that you would be working with. So sometimes we'll get emails from an accounting professor that says, hey, I'm looking for 5 TAs. I'm going to teach an accounting class next quarter. Who are the students that want to apply for this job? And it's typically students that have that background or CPAs or have taken that class and done really well. So that's a typical experience. Like that, there's other projects and research that faculty will do and hire our students to do, as well as our students working oftentimes for pay and also for free for companies and organizations in the city as a way of beefing up the resumes and acquiring expertise in the areas that they want to go into.
If I can answer a question live as well.
Mm-hmm.
Someone asked, how does entrepreneurship play a role in the application process? How do you consider a founder's application, and what kind of details are you looking for? So this depends on your post-MBA goals. So your overall story about this is part of your foundation and experience. So what relevant experience and transferable skills you have for your what have you learned and your accomplishment? How does this help you? Plus what you're gonna gain in the MBA program. How does all this help you achieve your post MBA goals? So, and then someone asked for an applicant with over 10 years of work experience. How do we evaluate that? So that also depends on your career goals. because so this you have many years of work experience. So then the level of a typical post MBA job, is that what you're pursuing, or should you consider a executive MBA program where they place graduates in a more senior position? So that's what we will be looking at. Do you have a lot more experience than like your post MBA goals? Like what would you will pursue to be placed, or is that much more senior than a typical MBA graduate?
Excellent. Let me take the next one. How does Anderson help students or help equip students and effectively utilize AI technologies? So this is definitely something that is fresh and new. But I'm happy to report that we fully embraced it. I think a few years ago when it first came out, there was people raising the alarms that students are no longer going to do any work and the computers are going to do the work for them. Since then, the university has acquired access to a number of AI tools that we all have access to, and we are embracing it as a business tool and as a way to really leverage the future of analytics and computing, and it's being integrated into some of the courses that we offer that include that. So we're definitely not shying away, and it's being incorporated. UCLA Anderson has a very strong technology orientation, with a lot of our students going into technology-related product management roles in sort of Northern and Southern California as well. And this is part and parcel of that world and that experience, as well as finance applications and things like that. So we're happy to report that is academically integrated in the form of additional courses, tools that are leveraged within the courses that are offered, and more specific information you can find on our website as you look at the different specializations that our students can pursue. Okay, let me see. Go ahead.
I have one question I would like to answer live. The question is about the curriculum at Anderson. How does it cater to the needs of startup founders who are seeking to expand their businesses? So we have, Adrian, we have a entrepreneurship specialization.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna send you that page. So it has some sample classes you can look at. We also, as part of your required academic, so the capstone project, you can choose the business creation option, where you have your second years. If you have a business or a business idea, then you'll be on a team and you have your classmate help you take your business to the next stage. And we have MBA students who actually launch their business, or they take it to the next stage after graduation. So there are a lot of resources, but you're asking specifically about the curriculum. So I will send you a couple links that includes the sample classes that you can look at.
So, Sai, I know it's 8:14. Do I have time for one quick answer, or are you kicking us out?
We can take one last question, Adrian.
All right. Jiyon, I think is the name. I hope I'm not butchering it. And I think there's another question by Rikita that is sort of related, and it's about how do we read or interpret scores that are potentially a little bit different. So in terms of the GMAT versus the GMAT Focus, as you guys know, the GMAT Focus is brand new. And when I quoted our scores for the class profile, I was referring to the class that is being admitted now, which was 90+% probably traditional GMAT scores and not so much the GMAT Focus. So what you're seeing there is the traditional GMAT score. At some point when we have more GMAT Focus numbers, we'll be able to report what the averages and the medians are for that. if you're looking to see where your GMAT focus would place, there is a number of conversion tables that you can find online that tell you exactly if your verbal and your quant are this and this, what is that score compared to the old score. So for now, I would say use that. We definitely do that internally when we want to compare a focus to the traditional one. And the same kind of goes for the GRE versus the GMAT. We've been taking the GRE for some time now, so we're able to put it in the context of a historical trend of averages. But if you're looking to see, okay, how would that number fit into this other world, there are comparing tools that will give you the GMAT equivalent. And again, it would be the old GMAT. So I know it's a little bit confusing and messy, but you can see in our class profile data on the website what that average GMAT score, GRE score is. And we didn't talk about the EA numbers, which are a little bit all over the place, but I would definitely say that EA scores that are upwards of 150 or 155 are thought of as very competitive. And I think that is all the time we have. So on behalf of myself and Sabrina, I want to thank all of you guys for being so patient with us and sending us all these great questions. I hope that you continue to engage with us. We are about to start traveling and going around the world and attending events. So try to catch us on the road. If you cannot make it in person, do not sweat it. You don't get any extra points for that. It's just for your own benefit. So try to connect with us virtually, get more information, and get ready to apply. Our application goes live August 1st. And Sabrina, any parting words?
I'm sorry that we couldn't get to everyone's questions. I'm going to send a link of our admissions event in chat.
And the FAQs as well, if you can.
In FAQ, okay, let me pose a question. So we do have, it's called AdCom Q&A or our office hours where you can just join, pop in and ask questions. It's like an office hour. There are many student-led events as well where you can get a student perspective or just copy your question and paste to email and send to our mba.admissions email and we'll get back to you.
Thank you so much, Sabrina and Adrian, for the wonderful presentation and diligently answering all of our questions. With this session comes to an end. Thank you so much for all the people who have joined. It has been a great session and hope to see you soon in the other sessions that we have in the Spotlight. Thank you all.
Thank you, GMAT Club.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.